A doctor once smeared pus from a smallpox patient all over his face, hands, and clothes, then went home to have dinner with his family. He didn't wash. He then went to his office, saw patients, and even went to a club to play poker, handling the cards and exposing everyone. The next day, still unwashed, he took a train and saw more patients. By his own estimate, he exposed over 50,000 people. The authorities tried to trace a single case of smallpox back to him. They found 0. This was Dr. Mathew Rodermund in 1901, and he was one of many doctors who questioned the idea that germs cause disease. This led to something called the Germ Duel, where doctors challenged each other to prove their beliefs. The germ theory believers would challenge the skeptics to expose themselves to deadly microbes. But the crazy part is, the skeptics had already been doing it for years, and the results were stunning. Take the greatest authority on cholera at the time, Max von Pettenkofer. To prove Robert Koch's new cholera germ wasn't the sole cause of the disease, the 74-year-old doctor drank a full culture of fresh, virulent cholera bacteria. He got a little bit of diarrhea, but that was it. No cholera. He famously said that if he died, he would have died in the service of science like a soldier on the field of honor. Another doctor, Thomas Powell, spent 10 years deliberately taking the germs of the deadliest diseases into his system. Typhoid, diphtheria, glanders, you name it. He did it by injection, by swallowing them, even having them sprayed into his lungs. He did these experiments on himself, his family members, and other volunteers. In front of 25 other physicians, he swallowed typhoid and diphtheria germs. The doctors examined him and unanimously declared there were no ill effects. Dr. Powell was so confident that he challenged anyone to bring him the most virulent bacteria known to man, and he would ingest them. Then there was Dr. John Fraser, a Canadian doctor who conducted over 150 experiments over 5 years. He fed millions of bacteria from diphtheria, typhoid, pneumonia, and meningitis to volunteers in their food and water. Not a single person ever got sick. Perhaps the most bizarre proof came from a failed murder plot. In 1916, a dentist named Arthur Waite wanted to inherit his father-in-law's fortune. His plan? Kill the family with deadly germs he got from top research labs. He put cultures of pneumonia, diphtheria, and influenza in their food, drinks, and even nasal sprays. But it didn't work. They just wouldn't get sick. Frustrated, he had to resort to actual poisons like arsenic and eventually suffocated his father-in-law with a pillow. If the germ theory worked like we're told, he would have been the perfect murderer. Instead, his failure to cause disease with germs is what got him caught. But the most famous failed experiment of all time happened during the deadliest pandemic in history, the 1918 Spanish flu. Researchers in Boston and San Francisco, led by Dr. Milton Rosenau, tried everything to prove the flu was contagious. They took mucus from sick patients and sprayed it up the noses, into the throats, and onto the eyes of healthy volunteers. Nothing. They injected blood from sick patients into healthy ones. Nothing. Finally, they took 10 healthy volunteers into a hospital ward filled with severely ill flu patients. The volunteers were told to get as close as possible, shake hands, and talk with them. Then, each sick patient had to lean over and cough directly into the face of each volunteer 5 times. They did this with 10 different flu patients. After all that, not a single one of the volunteers got sick. The lead researcher, Dr. Rosenau, was baffled. He said, "We entered the outbreak with the notion that we knew the cause of the disease, and were quite sure we knew how it was transmitted. Perhaps, if we have learned anything, it is that we are not quite sure what we know about the disease." So the germ duel was settled over a century ago. These doctors weren't just talking. They put their lives on the line to test a theory. And in experiment after experiment, using natural exposure, the theory failed. The germs lost the duel.